Yeah. Um, Good day and welcome, guys. I hope you can all hear me clearly now. I had to be sure I had my microphone setting as well as my screen recording settings accordingly in place before I just go ahead with this. So, with that being said, today we are supposed to have a a market review session. And basically, what we do in these market review sessions, what we usually do in these market review sessions is um, we get to look at the market together. I'll share my ideas of the market, what I'm expecting to happen in the market, possibly in the next, in the short, from the short to mid long term. We take questions and possibly opinions if you have a contrary opinion or something else to add. Yeah. So if you can see my screen, I think you should let me know. Let me quickly link the channel with the chat group so I can be sure that you can see my screen. I would like to know if you can see my screen. Please reply the message in the channel just to let me know if you can all see my screen. Okay, I think I got a private message. Everything good. Yes, all good. Yeah, that's nice. So this is the price chart for Bitcoin. Today we are going to be looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as maybe gold. I'm not so sure about that, but let's just see how it goes. So this is the daily price charts for Bitcoin. Now, the first thing I always like to identify when I pull up a price chart is I like to look at the most recent trend because especially on what time frame I'm looking at. If we choose to look at this price chart, maybe a more zoomed out price chart like this, we arguably or correctly we could say that we are still very much in a downtrend. But for me, I just want to see the most recent um, trend, the most recent trend. I think that's the best word to use in the market. And in this price chart, the chart for Bitcoin against the US dollar, we have um, some sort of like an uptrend. This is clear, obviously an uptrend. Right here, we have an uptrend. Get all of these off the chart. Right here, we have an uptrend. Now, what I always want to look at in a price chart, very often I think literally everyone at some point in time have heard there's this phrase within the trading society, within the trading community, where people often say the trend is your friend, follow the trend and stuffs like that. So For me, I think one of the single most important knowledge when it comes to trading price action is your understanding of market structure. And by market structure, I mean clearly being able to identify a trend when you look at the charts. It's as simple as that. As simple as this seems, I feel like it's one of the most underutilized tool when it comes to trading. And the reason why I feel this way is because for a lot of people, when you look at price charts, when you look at a price chart, you probably just see data, information, price levels, and all of that. In reality, all of this sort of represents our collective buying and selling activities going on in the market. So, to a very large extent, I feel like this is not just money going in and out of the market. This is this is a deliberate buying and selling opportunities of yourself and myself, everyone participating in this market right now. So as much as I want to pay a lot of information, a lot of time in just gathering this information, price against time, I also like to get an opinion of the general market sentiment from just looking at the price chart. Yeah. So in this case, we have an uptrend, and there's the common say that says follow the trend or the trend is your friend. I think the only flaw of that say is you don't get to know when it is right to follow a trend as well as when it is not so right to follow a trend. I think that is where you as a trader have to develop your own edge. This is something you find for yourself. It's not something that has an automatic formula. Yeah. But when I look at an uptrend, for me, I usually say that if you are waking up to a trend, then obviously you are late to that trend. And this is what I mean. I'm going to simply um, let me zoom this out and then come to just what we have here to explain that. Now, for someone who's probably just realizing that this is an uptrend, maybe, okay, we have an uptrend, right? Sitting within this impulsive move. For someone who's just realizing this uptrend, probably somewhere somewhere down here or along this level or this level. If you look at the overall price chart, this person is most likely is very well getting in late. This is where you realizing this trend and buying into this trend right here, right here, right here, up until November, December of 2022, you are still very, very late on the uptrend. So it is not just about whether the trend is your friend or not, because I always believe the trend is our friend. But you need to be able to understand when it is right for you to follow the trend, as well as when it is right for you to sit back and wait for the next trend. Very important. Sometimes you just need to take a chill and wait for the next trend. So this is an uptrend already. For me, I think this is almost an over-exhausted uptrend. For those who understand the high probability based trading method, you see that this is an uptrend that is already in the fourth phase. Maybe for me, I would be more interested in a sell from this point where we have this price chart right here, rather than being interested in a buy. And I'm going to let me go to much smaller time frame. This is the daily time frame. I'll sort of do some sort of a multiple time frame analysis where I'm not just looking at this from bigger time frames or smaller time frames, but I'll try to, balance my bias, because Hello? Hello? Yeah, if you can hear me, please drop a message. I think I lost my connection at some point. If you can still hear me, please just drop a message in the. Okay, sorry, I think I had a network glitch. If you can all still hear me, I'm just going to. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead. I think you can hear me. So, like I was saying, why do I feel like I can hear myself? Okay, so sorry. Like I was saying, looking at this uptrend, in my opinion, I would um I would not exactly on the daily time frame. I will not exactly be looking for buying opportunities in this trend, and it is simple. It's because I am waking up to the trend. Like I said earlier, I believe that if you're waking up to a trend, then you don't have any business jumping into that trend. The trend is your friend is only a valid quote, is only a valid um, ideology if you possess the right set of knowledge that helps you identify a trend as early as possible. If you cannot, if you're not getting in on this uptrend right here or right here or even right down here, then you don't have any business being in a daily buy at this point. No, I don't really see the need for that. So for me, like I said earlier, right from this point, I would be looking for selling opportunities. And the number one reason is simple, is because we are already in the fourth to fifth phase of my HPB trading system. We're already in the last phase. No, I really won't call it the last phase, but we're already in that fourth phase. So what I want to be looking at from this point, I would in the 4 hours time frame, there's almost nothing on this price chart. Almost nothing. We just have this parabolic uptrend from down here up from this demand zone down here up to this point. I had my buy orders. I think I was looking to get them filled from this demand zone, and then we didn't get a test to that. And the reason for that is also the same thing as why I'm bearish up here. Why I'm bearish up here. The reason is because we had an over exhausted downtrend. Yeah. So I think I first went in long here. I got stopped out by this. Then prices went up. I was looking to buy back here. I couldn't get that. Then I traded this range here, sold here, but yeah, and all of that. Yeah, but we had more like a parabolic uptrend from this point right here up until here, where there is something that I would say looks like a range, but I would try as much as I can to identify a trend within this range. And simply what makes an uptrend is anywhere we can find new highs. It could either be in forms of new higher highs or new higher lows, but we can for a fact say that an uptrend is valid where we can find the market breaking new highs. So this is what I would be paying attention to. Yep. Okay, let's take all of this away. Now, what I'll be paying attention to right here is what happened right up here. Now, if you look at structures, internal structures before this level, it was almost like this market was beginning to reverse from smaller time frames. From an uptrend, which we've seen it moved very parabolically. I don't know what's the right word, but we've seen it moved with so much aggression in the direction of an uptrend. And then right within here, we are beginning to see internal structures forming lower highs and lower low right here. But up until this point where we can see prices breaking out of this internal structure, everything that happened from this point right here, from this lower high right here, up until this point were internal structures, because we can't find prices clearly breaking a previous higher low. Yeah, a previous higher low or higher high is sort of like price is stuck between this range, this low, and this high up here, up until we saw prices breaking above this high. So for that singular reason, in my own opinion, I'll say that what changed on the 4 hours time frame now, because arguably trends basically just depend on the time frame you're looking at it from. We could be looking at a daily uptrend, a 4 hours downtrend, a 2 hours, 1 hour uptrend, and all of that. But on the 4-hour chart, what makes this, in my opinion, what makes this chart an uptrend for me is the fact that prices at some point broke out of this range from up here to down this point right here. Prices broke up above it. I would say making this level right here a higher low and this a higher high, and that's definitely an uptrend. And I think I have Jay here. I have someone from, yeah, is here. You would understand that uh, that from this point, since we have a clear uptrend, what I want to be looking at is I want to see points of, I want to see where this uptrend is beginning to lose its steam. And in my own opinion, everything about this uptrend doesn't look strong. Very weak sideways price action going on right here. So I think this is the first phase of this uptrend. This is the second phase of this uptrend. This, in my opinion, is the third phase, and most likely we are going for a last phase, a very weak last phase. It's already beginning to range. This is potentially an internal higher low, most likely go for I think in smaller time frames, I think there's a supply zone right here. And I think there's a supply zone above here. So overall, my swing bias on Bitcoin based off daily 4 hours, and even I think the 2 hours time frame is building up as a bearish um as a bearish setup. It's building up as a sell setup. But my bias overall for Bitcoin on daily and 4 hours time frame is a bearish bias. So what I'll be looking forward to in possibly the coming days is I want to see prices build up into supply levels up here. Um, Supply levels up here, up here. This is just, I'm just picking these zones very roughly and quickly. I think if you take time to refine your analysis, you're most likely going to get better zones. Yeah, so I am in the coming week, I'm looking at prices building into either of these supply zones, or maybe a supply zone, a previous supply zone that is somewhere above 22K. Yeah. So I'm most likely looking at a sell from somewhere around 21K to, let's say, 22K. Anywhere within this range, I think would be a good opportunity for me to sell, for me to take a swing sell. Yeah, for me to take a swing sell. For now, I'm not going to rush it. I think I'm just going to, the most important thing for me is letting the market build. What I want to see from this point is weakness. So I'm just going to sit back, maybe sit in smaller time frames, 30 minute, 1 hour time frames, 2 hours, even 5 minutes if necessary, to look at how prices build up into these levels, into these price zones that I am expecting to take my shot. Now, that is it for Bitcoin. I think my swing bias on Bitcoin right now is bearish. And if I'm to go by that, I would set my risk to reward. Let me say I'll do something like overall. This is what I'm looking at, something like this for Bitcoin. Yep, something like this for Bitcoin. I'm expecting prices, if this happens, if this weak uptrend, because we still have a weak uptrend here, and this is the funny thing is overall this is a higher high. So most likely I think we could, I'm not very bullish on Bitcoin on bigger time frames right now. Honestly, I'm not. But I think we could see prices coming up to levels along this point, maybe making some reaction or even eating deeper. It could also go higher than 32K. That's why I said for me, I'm just going to sit and watch how prices builds up on smaller time frame. But from this point, I'll be looking at smaller time frames. I'll be looking at opportunities as market build on smaller time frames. Just that I don't want to be sitting. I don't want to be buying a trend that is looking like it is exhausting. I can take quick longs and all of that, but I won't. I can't marry a position like that. I can't be holding too tight to a position like that. Yeah, so I would possibly be looking out for this reaction, maybe a reaction somewhere down here, and then I don't know. I can't tell. I don't want to push too far into the future. So I would say for now, this is what I'm looking at. I'll just keep an eye on this for Bitcoin. Now, I did say we'd be looking at BTC, ETH, and lastly maybe gold. I have this swing buyers for gold that I have been looking at for a while. Okay, let me. Okay, now I'm going to for ETH. I think the price chart for Ethereum is usually correlated with Bitcoin, meaning that in most cases, Ethereum is most likely going to be trending in the direction that Bitcoin is trending. Yes. But if there's another thing I've also noticed, it is the fact that ETH and BTC are very positively correlated. But there's usually this slight structural changes. There are scenarios where you're going to get possibly a break of structure on BTC, and then you don't find that break of structure on Ethereum. And there's also cases where you find maybe the same break of structure on Ethereum and not finding that same break of structure on Bitcoin. And I think the funny thing, the very interesting thing to me is Bitcoin and Ethereum always takes off a new trend together. They could get different confirmation, but they would always take off together. Now, before I'll do my quick top-down analysis on Ethereum, I'll just let me just point this out. Now, if you look at the this is the weekly trend, the weekly charts, price chart for Ethereum, but I want to just look at what we have from this point up here, from this point up here to this point down here first. Then would look at from this point down here up until this point up here very quickly. Now, from this point up here, if we want to identify, so the first thing I always want to look at when I am looking at any chart is I want to identify the market trend, because it tells me that overall, this is where we have the general market sentiment tilting towards. There could be maybe a quick news, a bad news in the market. There could be a fundamental issue in the market that would seem like it's taking price away from where it is ordinarily headed. But in most of the cases, I want to get the most recent the most recent structure in the market. So first thing first, you look at this and what are the structural levels we can find in this price chart? Lower lows and lower high. Yep, on the weekly chart for Ethereum. If you come to the weekly chart for, where's my weekly chart for Bitcoin? I think it's down here. Yep. If you come to the weekly chart for Bitcoin, you would find the same structure. The higher low, higher, lower low, lower high. Sorry, lower low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and then a lower low. Obviously, this is a downward trending structure. But now let's look at what I mentioned earlier. You see that in this chart right here, we have Bitcoin breaking structure for this downtrend, breaking structure to the downside right here. We had a lower low, a lower high, and a lower low for Bitcoin before before reversing to go all the way up. And then we have a lower low, lower high, and then not a lower low this time around, a higher low. Yeah, failure to break structure on this price chart. So in as much as Bitcoin and ETH are quite correlated, no break of structure here. In as much as they are quite correlated, you're most likely going to find the same trend. I think on the swing chart, on bigger time frame, you're most likely going to find the same trends on Ethereum as they are on Bitcoin. But confirmations, entry, and even build-ups are usually different. So I would want to let's look at since this is a weekly market review, want to see possibly what has happened in the markets building up to where we are right now, as well as what to expect from the market going going forward. Okay, I'll point out. Okay, so on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, I think what I would be looking at is what we have right here. Maybe in some other, sorry, for Ethereum, I said Bitcoin. I'll be looking at this uptrend right here. I'll be looking um quite well at this uptrend right here, because before this before this we okay before this we sort of had this. And like I said earlier, my emphasis, my concern is usually in the most recent trend, because I'm not looking at I'm not analyzing the market because I want to trade off what has happened in the market before. The whole idea of technical analysis is to be able to look at past market data and then be able to make market predictions based off this data you have collected from what has happened in the market in the past. And like I did say earlier, I believe that these data are not just data. These data represent some sort of it represents the sentiment of the market at a given period in time. So the fact that on this price level, let me take the fact that on this price level, what price level is this? This is 1671 for ETH as of this point right here. Prices was very much in a downtrend. Doesn't mean that at that same price up here or up here, prices is most likely going to be trending in the same direction. Yes, yes, most definitely we need a very solid understanding of what has happened in the market. But it is not because this always represents what is likely to happen in the market. The market is driven by sentiment. It's driven by buying and selling activities. And these buying and selling activities are done by people like yourself and myself. All of us, our collective buying and selling activity is what drives the market. So, I remember in 2020, no, I remember early 2020 when Bitcoin was around $7,000 to $9,000. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine where we were talking and concluding that at $9,000, $9 to $11,000 per Bitcoin at the time, Bitcoin was overpriced. Bitcoin was already too expensive because the previous all-time high at the time was 18K and all of that. Bitcoin was in 9K, and today a lot of the people that were saying 2, 3, 4 years ago that Bitcoin was too expensive at $9,000, $10,000, or $11,000 for 4 years ago, think that Bitcoin at $7,000 or $9,000 or $11,000 would be too cheap. Yeah, the same way a lot of people that thought in 2021, 2022, November of those years, that Bitcoin, in November, December of 2021, that thought that Bitcoin was still very much affordable. It was still a good price to buy Bitcoin at $57,000 per Bitcoin. It was still a very good price to buy Bitcoin at 60, 64, 16, 67, $69,000 per Bitcoin about a year and 6 months ago. I can assure you that most of those people would not be very interested in buying Bitcoin as much as they were a year and 6 months ago. At that price level, they won't be very much interested in buying Bitcoin at that price level today. So it tells that it is not just, for me, it tells that it's not just the data, it is not just the price, it is not just the timing, it is the sentiment. It is what drives the buying or selling decision. So I would always analyze what has happened in the past, but giving I'm always making the most decision from structures that are currently building up in the market, because what has happened in the past is way beyond your control. You can only make information out of it, but in most cases, you can't make much more out of it. Yeah. Now, the most recent trend for this ETH, for Ethereum on the daily time frame, is this uptrend right here. Let me just put this in form of like a trend line, although I don't really believe too much in a line that gets respected every time market gets there. Yeah, but I'll leave this off like a trend line. Now, this is the overall daily uptrend. Now, for me, the key levels in this uptrend is here, this swing low, this swing low, this swing high, and then this swing low right here. For me, on the daily time frame, these are the most important levels. Literally everything else in between these levels are basically just internal structures. Arguably, you can see that are basically just internal structures. And the same thing I said, once we have a trend that is already in the fourth phase, I don't want to be looking for swing opportunities in the direction of that trend. So this is an uptrend. The swing trend right here is an uptrend. And this uptrend for me is already moving toward its saturation point. Now, I don't want to be taking swing buys in a trend that is already nearing its saturation point. On smaller time frames, on 5, 15, 30 minutes, it's okay for me to look at 30-minute structures or 15-minute structures and look for, let's say, buying opportunities in this chart. But on the daily time frame, I definitely can't be looking for buying opportunities in this price chart. And the reason is simple. Like I said, this chart, in my own opinion, based off my knowledge as well as system of trading, is already in its saturation point. What I want to be looking out for from this point is not the continuation of a new trend. Nope. I want to be looking out for opportunities that signal the start of a new trend. That's the only thing I want to be looking out for from this point. Yeah. So it's more like I want to be identifying the extremes of each trend, because when a trend when it gets to the extreme, it always reverses into another trend. Always, when you see a downtrend, it goes too far down, it sort of slightly slides into an uptrend and then repeats the same cycle over and over again. So in this chart, I want to be looking out for maybe weaknesses, maybe swing failures, and all of that. Now I'll switch to the 4 hours time frame. Let's see what we have on the 4 hours time frame. Now on the 4 hours time frame, um, I would as well identify the most recent trend. I'm just going to do that over and over again. Now the most recent trend, in my opinion, in this 4 hours chart is this uptrend right here. We had a change of character here at this point. Instead of this downtrend, all of this downtrend right here, instead of it to continue in the direction of the downtrend, which is lower highs and lower low, we saw prices coming for some sort of an internal higher high. Yeah. So for me, right here is where we had that change of character that signaled this possible uptrend. And the key levels of this uptrend, once again, is higher low, higher high, and this is potentially a higher low, in my opinion. Now, what I want to see from this point on the 4 hours time frame, similarly to what we have on the daily time frame, if you pay some sort of attention, you see on the daily time frame we have this change of character right here. Yep. See, we have this change of character right here. We have this higher high. We have higher low, higher high, higher low, and then higher high. The build up, this bullish build up. It's currently in the saturation phase. I want to see how it builds up on smaller time frame. I want to look for an opportunity to get in on this downtrend if I am right, to get in on the next trend. If I am right, I want to get in as early as I can. So I'm just going to go to smaller time frames, because I believe whatever it is that builds up in the markets always starts from smaller time frame. You always get that signal, that confirmation from smaller time frame. So we are just going to try as much as we can to do that together as fast as we can. Okay. No. So on the 4 hours, we have this uptrend right here. I don't want to draw this to be an to the trend line because, like I said earlier, I really don't base a lot of emphasis on this. But the most important thing is I am identifying an uptrend that, in my own opinion, might as well also be building into the saturation phase. Now, I think, let me look at, we have supply here. We have a supply that's already tested. I wouldn't be looking to trade this. Um, okay, let me come to the 2 hours time frame and see what we have here. On the 2 hours, we still have this hidden supply zones. We have this inducement up here. And now, let me see something on the 30 minute. On the 30 minute, this is interestingly where I'll be looking for my opportunities. Interestingly, I'll be looking at the 30 minutes for that the most. And I think on the 30 minutes, what I want to be looking out for from smaller time frames is I want to see markets building up. On Bitcoin over the weekend, let me point. Okay, I'll try not to make this analysis this too looks too rough. I think on Friday I was looking at this. Right here we have a downtrend. This okay. I think no. Towards the end of last week, if I'm not mistaken, okay, I took this shot on ETH from up here. I actually just closed this shot. I closed the remaining of this today, somewhere around this level. I can't remember. But I took this shot from up here, and I was expecting to get the same from BTC. I was expecting prices up here, which I didn't get, and then we went all the way down. Now, after missing this shot on BTC, I think that was a 2 hour setup. I saw this 15 minutes, 30 minute buy setup building up. 1, 2, 3, swing failure, bounce up, missed. Almost the same. Okay. 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 So from this point, I think what I'll be looking I was looking at the TH actually. Now, what I'll be looking forward to on smaller time frames like the 30-minute and 1 hour chart is I want to see how prices build up into these levels we have up here. This supply level here, this supply level here. Although I'm not expecting too much from what we have up here. And the reason is because this whole other block right here, we've sort of had some sort of test or inducement to this supply level up here. Now, it doesn't really mean that this is not valid. Of course, it's very much still valid. But it all depends on, in my own opinion, or based off my method of trading. It sort of depends on how prices build into it. Now, I think we are likely, in my opinion, to see prices build into this, or maybe something along the line. Yep, something this up here. Yeah, I think I would rather be looking at how prices build into either of these two supply levels right here. But I think we've had quite a decent build up this week. Oh, I think, yeah, this was the sell on ETH. Um, this was the uptrend that identified weakness in, and this uptrend, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, started looking weak from this point, and then I took the sell from this other block right here. Exactly. That was the ETH setup that was shared in the channel, I think, on Wednesday or Thursday, and it sort of just happened very quickly. Prices went straight here, back all the way down. So right now I'm looking, I think we could get a bounce in the short term. We could get a bounce from current levels. I'm not expecting price. Now all of this on the smaller time frame, I'm a bit bullish, but all of this bullishness is as long as prices stays above where's that level? I think as long as price stays, I think, above this level, I'm sort of bullish in the short term. I'm bullish up until this supply zone here, and maybe even slightly above this. I don't know. From which on the daily and 4 hours time frame, I'm not so bullish on this chart. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. It's the same bias I have for Bitcoin actually. Yeah. So with that being said, I think that is it for ETH for me. I'll see how tomorrow market opens, how market builds up into these supply zones, and if I get some sort of like a good opportunity to get back into this buy, because I also did that was what I cleared from the chat earlier on. I was also supposed to be in this, slept off, woke up this morning, prices had moved already. Yeah. So whichever way, bullish sort of from this point up until either of these levels, and up above either of these levels down here. Yeah, this level particularly. Either of those, I'm still bullish in this chart up until this point. Now, I would look at gold. I'll look at gold very quickly. I have price charts for gold. I posted this on Twitter. Yep, I posted this on Twitter about weeks ago, actually, before this downtrend started. Now, for gold on the weekly time frame, I am bearish. On the daily time frame, I am still very bearish. I don't really do much of gold on smaller time frames. I don't really do much of gold on smaller time frames, but I think gold is very bearish. I think I made the first call for this up somewhere around here, because I started paying attention to this gold chart from this. I don't know I think some people call this Malaysian trend line, trend trading, whatever it is. Me is high probability based swing trading. It's as simple as that for me. Yeah, but on the daily time frame for gold, I think I'm still very bearish. but I think there's a possibility for prices going going up a little bit from this point before continuing all the way down. I don't control the market, I don't influence the market, but from my knowledge of trading the market, I think we are most likely to have maybe a bearish year or a bearish next year for gold. Weekly setups doesn't look too good, and so is daily time frame for gold still doesn't look too good. So I didn't I didn't take this. This is my bias. I made this analysis, I shared it on Twitter, I shared it in the channel. I don't know. That is it for me and gold for now. I would in the coming week when market opens tomorrow, I will try as much as I can to see if I can get to be to be consistent with gold. I don't know if that's the word. If to be consistent with gold on smaller time frames, like I am with Bitcoin and Ethereum particularly. I analyzed Bitcoin on five different um, platforms, five different price charts for Bitcoin. Yep, it should be four or five of them, and they basically represent every major time frame I trade Bitcoin and Ethereum on. And it helps me because I mostly just trade Bitcoin and Ethereum, and putting it in a way that looks like analyzing them separately. I analyze Bitcoin on the daily time frame entirely separately, like I am analyzing another market I only trade on the daily time frame. I analyzed Bitcoin on the 1 hour time frame on its own. I look for 1 hour opportunities in Bitcoin. I confluence everything to give me an edge, but I treat Bitcoin like someone who possibly just trade five pairs, five coins, whatever it is you're going to call it. But I treat Bitcoin the same way. So, but I'll try to see as much as I can. I know I used to at some point. I used to trade gold on smaller time frame, but for now is I sort of enjoy bigger time frames. I'll see how much I can get back to this on smaller time frame. But for now, this is my bias on gold. We'll see how this goes. Yeah. So with that being said, I think for me that is where I'm rounding up. This is my market review. But if there are questions, or I would say if there are questions or contributions, you can maybe raise your hand or mute yourself if that's possible, and maybe share your idea or make your contributions with us. If there's none, uh, I guess that's where we are going to call it a day. But regardless, if there are any questions or contributions or suggestions, you can just raise your hands or unmute yourself. Just notify me. I'll unmute you to speak. Okay, so I'm just going to assume that there are no questions, and then I would end this market review session right here. But if you happen to have any questions that you might want to ask, my DMs are always open. You can send me a DM. Hopefully it's something I can provide answers to. I'm going to do that. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Um, I hope we all have a fruitful trading week coming up.